Hey guys, in this video we're going to turn this plain Jane Traxxas XO-1 clear Lexan body into, I think, a piece of artwork. Let's roll that intro. Okay, so what I've got here is a Traxxas XO-1 body that's been painted half white, half black, right down the middle. And it's important to look where this has been painted down the middle, okay? On the Ripper theme in particular, I either blend them from black to white or white to black. So when you get the kit, take notice. Here's the hood, okay? On the hood, it's black, and as it goes back, it turns to white. So here's the side, here's the front of the side, and the transition zone is right in the middle. So when you get this, you get an idea of where you need to paint your body and transition it, okay? Right here's the transition zone, and you can see this is where I transitioned it right here, okay? You can pick a new clear body up anywhere you want. I know there's guys that just want to install this right over top their stock body that says Traxxas on the side and has all different kinds of logos. You can do that, but you will see the gaps show up a lot more between the graphics. This kit in particular has a metallic flake finish on it. I'm going to lift this up and hopefully the camera can get that a little bit here. Maybe if I roll it just a little bit like this, it'll sparkle for you. The XO-1 is something that's not easy to install, something that you definitely want to follow the instructions and take your time. So when you get the kit, you'll notice in the bottom corner here that there's a diagram, and it says product pieces should be installed in the following order. First step, red. So you do the red pieces first, then the green pieces, then the orange pieces, then the black, then the purple, okay? And the reason for this is simple. What I want you to do is balance the kit out. You'll install the two sides first, and then the center pieces you'll perfectly center, and you'll overlap or align based on where your first pieces have been installed. And depending on how much you heat it up, or if this body shape isn't perfect from the factory, you can then evenly trim. So you're doing the sides, and then you're gonna work down the middle of the body, okay? That's why we do it that way. Let's go over the tools used, and I'm not gonna spend too much time on this because this video is in another section. You can look down, you can scroll down in the video section on the website, and you can find the links to the tools used. The papers inside your kit will also go over more specifically the tools. I got some 91% isopropyl alcohol. I have a, let's see here, 32-ounce bottle of water, room temperature, with about 6 to 8 drops of dish detergent, and I put maybe a teaspoon of this alcohol in. That helps it evaporate a little bit more quickly. And the soap portion gives it some viscosity so you can slide the graphics sort of around the hood. I've got a lint-free 3M rag that's not colored. Do not use the colored ones because when you apply the rubbing alcohol to it, it can bleed the color out of the rag and onto your project. I got a felt tip squeegee. If you don't have a felt tip squeegee or you don't feel like ordering one, you can just get a standard one and you can wrap your cloth around it, okay? What else do I have here? I have a cheese tack cloth. You can get that at Walmart. If you have a Walmart or Home Depot or Lowe's, it's in the paint section. That's just gonna get the dust off. It's one of those steps that you don't have to do, but I like to do it. And I have a nice sharp X-Acto knife. and this is something you're absolutely going to have is a heat gun. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do, well, I've already painted the body. I'll let you guys take care of that. That's self-explanatory, and you can do it any way you want. Now, you really don't have to do a black to white blend. On the Ripper kit in particular, I would recommend doing an all black. If you paint these things black, you just can't go wrong when you install these kits. It really hides the gaps because it looks like a shadow. But if you really want to get fancy, you know, and you can do it that way. That's up to you. Now, next thing I'm going to do is, I got a little alcohol left on here. I'm just going to clean my workstation up. Make sure it's nice and sterile. You don't have any dust or dirt. You know how when you get a package from UPS or FedEx and it's been on a dusty, dirty road in the back of their truck all day and you set these things down on your table? That'll really hurt your project. Stuff you can't see, that real fine stuff. So this is evaporating. It looks good, nice and clean. Okay, so what I'm going to do is get the piece I need off the sheet. And that piece is right here. And I'm just going to pull it up off the sheet. Sometimes they're a little sticky and need a little help with the X-Acto knife to come clean. This is normal. As you can see, that's coming off pretty good there. Okay. And again, my hands are really clean. I just washed them, so I can touch the back of this. It doesn't have any body oils or anything like that on my fingers yet. All right. Clean table, sticky side up. Shake our bottle up to get the soap mixed in, and we're just going to spray it. And now you can touch it and your hands won't stick, okay? I'm also going to spray the side of the car down, okay? Here's where things are going to start to get challenging and you need to take your time, okay? So, once again, I'm installing this thing upside down so I can face the camera, and that makes it hard for me. So what we're just going to do now is just get ourselves sort of oriented here with how this is going to go on, okay? Starting to stick a little bit, so I'm just going to wet it down some more. And on the XO-1, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get this lower point lined up here, right here, okay? And I'm going to leave that gap that's talked about in the instructions, and it's about a 1/16. And you can see I've left a nice little gap right here, okay? That's already starting to stick. Now, you can see it seems really rigid, okay? So what I'm going to do, I've got that corner down. We're going to need some more soap here. Go ahead and wet your work surface down too, so that if the graphic falls on your work surface, it won't stick. Okay? That looks pretty good. I'm a little low right there, so I'm going to pull it up and move it up just a little bit, just like that. So you can see it wants to crease there already on this. This is where the heat comes in. I'm going to get this area here fixed down first, where I'm pointing this heat. Then I'm going to work my way back. But we need a pivot point. Okay? I'm going to take my towel and my squeegee once I find it. Looks like I dropped it. I'm going to support the back of the Lexan, and I'm just going to push that water out nice and even with this flat squeegee. Okay? Beautiful. Okay? So as of right now, I've got this area right here fixed. Okay? Next thing we can do is probably get this thing out of the way and just get it fixed down so it doesn't stick to the table. Okay? And it looks like it needs to come this way just a little bit for me so I can keep everything nice and even. Get this a little bit more wet so we have more time to work with it. Looking good. Nice and centered there. Okay. Spray this down a little bit more since I haven't worked on it in a while. It's starting to dry. Just let that rest back there again. So, let's put some heat on this and try and get this installed in this center area here. I'm just going to squeegee and work my way up like that. Looks pretty good. Now we're getting over here. Let's add some water since we haven't worked on this. And what we're going to do is we're just going to follow right around the wheel opening here. Okay. So I'm going to work on getting, that's good. So I'm going to work on getting this down now. A little bit of heat. Okay. Let's take our rag in this area and use it to push. A little bit of a curve here, so I'm not so sure how this will work, but we'll give it a shot. It's working okay. A little bit more heat. I'm just gonna rock, I'm gonna push on my thumb and rock it up in a rocking motion on my thumb. Not a pushing motion, a rocking motion. If you push with a product like this, you could stretch the material a little bit and you'll have a little bit of a ridge right there. So I'm just gonna rock my thumb, and it's starting to cool already. So I can already tell it's starting to get a little bit harder to work with. Okay, so I'm just working my way around here. Sort of going with the flow of the body lines. Need some heat. That looks pretty good. Look at how nicely this is engineered to just come down. Now when you get to the bottom, I left you a little bit bigger of a gap down here intentionally because I don't know how much heat you're going to be applying. It's going to be different for everybody. So if you find yourself just a little short there, you can either just say, that's fine with me, or you can do a little bit of a stretch here with some heat and get it within the 16th. And to do that stretch, you just need to heat it up. I actually probably should wet this down one more time. Heat it up. And we're going to force an additional 16th out of it. Just like this. Just like this. Okay? And we're just using our thumb. Got maybe another 30-second out of it. I could have gotten more if I would have went back and heated it up again, but I think that's a pretty good gap right there. So now I'm getting a little bit of a wrinkle right there. So all I need to do is just give it a little bit of heat, and we're going to work that wrinkle right out, just like so. A little bit more heat. Don't feel like you have to work the wrinkle out right where it is. As you push down, you may see another wrinkle form over here. That's a good thing because what you're doing is you're spreading out the issue across a wider area instead of trying to push one wrinkle down in one spot. Okay. This looks pretty good. I'm going to come back and deal with these parts here a little bit later. Right now I want to get this up and spray it back down because as you can imagine it's starting to dry. So now we've got all this down to here. So why don't we go ahead and put more water. And we'll work our way back like this. Got a little ridge here, which is okay. The heat will take that out. So now I'm going to focus from here up to my finger. I'm going to get my squeegee. I'm going to support the back like this. You can see the water coming out. Beautiful. Still, I can feel the warmth up to here, so I'm going to go ahead with my squeegee and just keep going. That looks pretty good. One of the things about the XO-1 is it's got a very, very thin body as compared to, say, something like an X-Max. So you really have to support the back side with your hand while you're pushing the water out on these, okay? Just gonna go over this small piece here, make sure it's down. It looks good, very good. Okay, let's add some more water. And now you can see as we follow this, this naturally wraps around for us. And again, there's a little bit of a bigger gap on this bottom. A lot of that should naturally stretch out because this is going to require some heat. And as it stretches around and down, it's going to come in line. Okay, just using my thumb. I'm going to try and get another 1/16 out of that. And I'm just going to give it a little pull. You can see now I got that 1/16 out of it right there. Okay. Now I'm going to come back with my cloth. And just sort of push the rest of the water out here. The cloth is nice because it sort of takes the friction away from your finger. Okay. Okay. I have completed the, let's see, that would be the driver's side. I went back over it off camera and made sure that there were no water pockets. And you can see them by holding them up to a good light and just sort of like you'd look at a board to see if it was skewed or straight. Just go, you can look right down the plane like this and you can see a water bubble. And if you have one, if it's on the edge, closer to the edge, all you gotta do is just push it out with your thumb before the side cures and dries. I would say you've got 15 minutes before it's gonna be too hard to push it out to the edge. If more time than that has passed, you'll need to take an X-Acto knife, and I like to do this in a dark area, and just pop it on the edge and then work the water and air out through that hole. Not too bad, okay? So the next thing I'm gonna do is install this piece because that's what the instructions tell me to do. So I am going to wet this down. And then I'm gonna grab the piece I need, and that piece is right here. Okay? My hands are still clean, and I'm gonna lay it on. Now, something you need to understand about these three-dimensional installs, as a graphic artist, we can't get every piece of art to align on every angle of the body. We try to get as much as we can, And in the areas where we can't get the graphics to align, we either try to keep it really busy so you don't notice it, or just avoid designing in that area. So as you can see up here, this was important to keep aligned because we've got a transition from black to white, okay? And you can see that it's perfectly aligned. Now, as this goes back, if we were to hold it like this, you probably could see we're still aligned right in here, but as this starts to turn away right here, on our screens, while we're designing, it's still flat, but here in real life, it's starting to turn. So the design cannot register back here. Okay, so I'm just taking a look at my body lines here. I'm still wet there, so I got plenty of time. I want to keep a nice clean gap between this piece and this piece if I can. And if I can't, that's fine too. We'll just have to trim it a little bit. Okay, looks pretty good. I'm going to add a little bit of heat just to soften it up. My squeegee is pretty much going to be useless in this situation, so I'm going to take my cloth and just start working this down like this, starting against the window, because I've got a nice clean line there where it butts up against. And I'm just going to rock it down and away like this. It already cooled, so I'm going to add a little bit more heat to make it more malleable. Looks good. Lines look pretty good. Pretty tight there. A little bit of a line here. I'm gonna try and warm that up and just with my thumb just cheat these together. And there it goes. You can see if you blow on it just a little bit and make it cool, if you force it to cool, it'll more quickly hold in place. Whereas if it stays warm and it's malleable, it'll contract back. So just a little trick. Okay, and I'm going to warm this up, and I'm just going to work my way right back the body line of the XO-1 here, just like that. I'm paying attention to my gap lines here, keep them nice and even. I'm not putting a lot of pressure on this because when you heat it up, the water just comes squirting out the sides without much pressure. This cloth is working great to get in this groove here. And there we go. There's that piece. I'm going to come back here. I just want to tighten up these lines a little bit. You see my gap here? I just want to bring it in. If I can get a 30-second out of it, I'd be happy. Maybe that wouldn't matter to you, but for me, I like things to look clean, as clean as possible. Okay? And here we are. We've got the whole side done, and this upper fender here. Looks like I have just a little spot here. Pull that up. And I'm gonna use my thumb and just rock it down, just like that. And that's now down, okay? That looks great. This right here may require a little bit of trimming once we're done. It's really on that edge, but it looks pretty good. Just gonna warm it up just a touch. Having a good light to do this is just essential. If you have a shop light, that would be fantastic. Okay, that looks pretty good. And what we're gonna do next is move on to the other side, because I need to have that balance on the car to do the middles. I'm assuming you guys don't want to see me do the same thing over again, so I am going to speed the film up here, and I'll reconnect with you when I'm on the middle section. Okay, so thanks to technology, I didn't have to bore you with the install on the other side. So here we are. We have the driver's side and the passenger side. A couple things I want to mention. On this passenger side, I don't know if the body is just a little bit of a different shape, but there's a little bit more of a gap here. And this is the beauty of the white paint. If I back this up, you probably can't see that gap really. It just blends in with your eye and it looks pretty good. If this were an orange body, or if you had the stock body and there was the word Traxxas going across here, it would stick out like a sore thumb here. But I've taken the time to paint the body correctly and it's really, really an advantage. So what is next on our sheet? We've done the red parts. And it looks like we need to do the green parts next, which I did, and now the orange parts, which is the hood and the roof, okay? So I'm gonna go back over. Let's do the hood. Running low on alcohol stuff here. Okay, I'll get more. Let's do the hood here, and I'm just gonna get any contaminants off of here. Looks pretty good. Awesome. Okay. Let's spray this down. Okay. And let's pluck the hood piece off, which is probably the coolest piece in the whole kit because it's got that skull guy on there. Little extra I gotta cut off here. Grab my scissors. Okay. I'm just gonna spray the back. And plop it into place here. Gonna line up these two body post holes right there. This piece is gonna be pretty easy, pretty self-explanatory. It sits in that groove right there, really nice. Gonna give it a little bit of heat to soften it up because that water tends to cool the material down and it makes it really rigid. And I'm gonna push down here with my finger and hold and just go right down the center. And then I'm gonna work my way to the sides. Just keep working your way to the side like that. Okay, and we're gonna have some water that gets trapped in here. So we're just gonna flip it here in a second. Looks pretty good. The other thing you can do, instead of flipping it, and for the sake of me keeping this in camera, I'm just gonna soak it up with this rag. Once you do that, you can push again. You can see there's still some coming out the bottom there, but it's not pulling up and getting sucked back in, which is really what you're trying to avoid. There's a little air bubble right here. Looks like it came out. Gonna go over it in the light here, make sure I got it all. Looks pretty good. Okay, so according to my diagram, let's see here. The next piece we want to put on is the windshield and the roof and the windows. So we'll do the windshield next. It's a pretty easy piece. Let's see, get rid of this. Don't need this scrap. Just gonna pluck the windshield off the sheet. Here it is. Spray the back of it down. Get it in place. This is gonna be an easy one. Probably the easiest piece on the whole car. Give it the heat it needs to soften it up a little bit. I'm gonna make sure everything is aligned, pinch my finger, go down the center, and then work my way across the sides like this. Easy. Easy peasy, guys. Well, that piece is easy. All right. The next piece, according to the diagram, is this upper area here. But I think what I want to do is I want to put the windows on next, because that'll help me sort of center this upper piece that's a little bit more difficult to install. So I'm going to grab the windows. I'm going to spray them. Looks pretty good. Okay. A little bit of heat. Looks good. Okay. We're going to do the other side. Spray it down. Grab it here, spray it down, put it right into place, just like this. Just like that. Heat it up. Get the water out. Another easy one to install. Okay. Now for the little bit harder piece. Spray it down. And I'm just going to pluck that piece off the sheet. Just like this. Spray it down. And we can put it on here. Get it lined up. So what I'm going to do here, I'm leaving my nice little gap there. It's about a 1/16. I'm going to check it back here to make sure I also have a 1/16, and I do. Could actually come forward a little bit, which is actually going to give me like a 30-second. That looks good. And I'm just going to sort of do a faux install here and push these down. They're still floating on the water, so that's no problem. And I look centered. Okay? So I'm going to adhere the center so I have something fixed. And then I can work my way down each side, okay? So I'm going to use my hand. I'm just going to go like that. Just going to go like this. Just sort of try and get that center down. Now I'm going to work my way to the side. We're going to do one at a time. Okay? I'm going to put my hand underneath and just give it a little support as I bring the water back in a way. We've got some ripples up here in the front. That's normal and that's okay. We'll get to that. Going to heat up this side. Okay. Looking good. Gonna worry about the little things later. Like here you can see these wings here. These wings actually go down in. Don't worry about that until later, because you want to get the big pieces down because they dry and they start to sort of get tacky on there. And if you lift them up when they're too dry, it'll leave a residue behind and it just won't have that clean finish if you end up doing that. So I'm gonna work on this area now and this. Then I'm gonna go over here and do this. So I added some heat. It's going down pretty nice there. I admittedly have the air conditioning on full blast right now because my cameras are actually overheating without it. And that creates an issue because it cools this off so fast for me. but I have to keep adding heat and I don't get much time to work on it before it cools to room temperature. Room temperature is not a good temperature for this stuff to be flexible. Looks pretty good. Okay, so now I got this side down. I'm gonna come back over and do this side. First, I just wanna lift this up and make sure it's not adhered and it's just barely good. Wet it back down. And you can see here, I have a little bit of a gap there. So I'm gonna warm it up and try and stretch that back a little bit. Okay. So it's sort of a pull and a stretch back. It looks good. I'm gonna keep it warm so it doesn't want to pull back on me when it starts to cool off. Until I know it's adhered, then you can let it cool off. Now let's work our way forward a little bit here. Get our squeegee again. Rock this down and forward. That's looking mighty fine. Looking good. Okay. Gonna go back over this, a couple of those pieces. I'm just gonna work my way right down the windshield pillar here. Just sort of giving it a push with my thumb. So I had a little bit too much heat there because as I was pushing it, it sort of crinkled in my finger. It was so soft. So when you know you got to back off a little bit. I'm just going to work my way down. I need to sop up some of this water here because I got like there's a little pit right there where the water's just pulling. And when I let my finger off, it gets sucked back in. So the objective is to get that water out of there so that the next time you push down, it can't get sucked back in. And a little bit of that water gets evaporated by the heat gun, but when you have a lot, the heat gun just won't do it fast enough. So you have to get the towel out. I can see a couple little bubbles here I just want to work out. Nothing major. But again, now is the time to do it because I'm still within that sort of 15-minute window. So this bubble is like right on this upper edge, so that's the direction I'm going to push it. You want to push these bubbles out in the edge that's closest to the bubble, obviously. Looks like I got it. I'm just going to hold it up to the light here. I don't see any others, so I'm happy with that. Let's get these wings done. One of the things I like to do with little tiny spots like this is to finish them off with a dry apply. So I'm just going to sort of pull that little spot back here, evaporate the water, and then just push it down. And that's a dry contact for the most part. So once it's on, it's on. There's no, you don't have to rub it back and forth. Same with this, that's already pretty dry, I can feel it. And again, another dry contact. There's a little water in there. I'm just gonna try and get that out with this. I can see it in this channel right here. Looks pretty good. I don't see any bubbles in this roof line. That looks nice. So here's where we are. And I believe, according to the instructions, our next step is the black pieces. And the black pieces are here. and here. So let's do this piece next. Okay, so we are to the point now where we are going to install the front hood. And like every other piece we put on, we're going to just give it a little final prep down with some of the isopropyl alcohol. I've already wiped this piece down, so I'm not going to go too crazy on it. There's a little bit of gunk here from when we did the roof, and it stretched across. Not a big deal. Looks great. Let me go over with you the tack cloth real quick here, since I'm in a spot on the hood that you can easily see. It's just gonna grab any loose piece of dust. It's as simple as that. I do see there's something right here. I'm not sure what that is, so I'm just gonna try and get that off of there. There it goes. Good deal. Okay, and like every other piece, we are going to wet it down. It's a good idea to also wet down this section, because if you accidentally drop the graphic on the piece you already installed, it won't stick. And if it does stick, you're gonna be in trouble, because it'll be almost an instant bond if it's dry, and it'll leave a residue behind pretty quickly that you'll end up having to clean up. Okay, so at this point, that's wetted down, and I can grab it without it sticking to my hands, and here we go. Okay? Now, this is why the instructions say to leave this piece until last. And that is because it's almost guaranteed that you're gonna have a little extra to trim depending on how this piece fit in and this piece fit in. Once they're in and this piece gets in there, we may need to just trim to keep our edges clean. That piece there is actually really tight and spot on. I don't know if I just got lucky. I'm sure I'll probably have to finagle something there, but okay. I'm just lining this up. You can see I'm lining it up back in here. And it goes up here. Kind of hard for me to see where I'm at up here, but it looks pretty solid. Okay. All right. It's probably one of the hardest parts to install on this. Actually, I would say the sides are the hardest. This is probably the second hardest. So let's get some heat involved. I can see I'm probably gonna have to trim this right here. It's just a little too tight on this fender for my liking. I like to have these lines nice and even. Okay, got my squeegee here. I'm gonna push it down, just like this. And then I'm gonna rock back across there. Rack back across there. Okay. And then back here. Definitely gonna need some trimming there, which is a good thing, because then I can show you guys how to do that. A little bit of heat. I'm just gonna work my way up like that. I'm gonna worry about those little ripples at a later time. I'm gonna come back over here before this gets too dry and respray. So I can add some time on my clock here. Looks good. Nice and tight there. And in the same spot, I'm just gonna create a down point right there. That's now pretty much down. And what that allows me to do is to sort of push this way now without it sliding on me, okay? More heat. Okay, that's pretty good. Just gonna move this out of the way a little bit. Some room here. Now, I'm gonna heat up the entire front. You can see I got some ripples there. We'll take care of them later. And we're gonna work our way down and over, okay? You can see the water coming out. This looks really good. I don't see any water bubbles so far. Just sort of feeling around here. Now see, here's another example of where I have water stuck in this channel. So I'm just gonna take this clean rag and just soak it out of there without getting any fuzz up underneath the graphic. Then I can come back and what's left will evaporate out with the heat gun. And I'm just sort of plucking it back with my thumb. And the reason for that is you can feel the moisture sort of dissipate when you do that. My thumb won't stick, it won't stick, and then all of a sudden it'll start to stick. And that tells me the heat gun has done its job, and you can come in here and finish that off. I like to keep the heat on it when I do this because there's a little bit of moisture that comes rolling out and you still want to evaporate. Looks great, okay? So the majority of it is now down. You notice I did not spend a lot of time on these little issues like the ripples here, or maybe there's one here. These are things that you can focus on after the majority of it is down, and that's the goal. Get the majority of it down, then come back and do the small stuff. Okay. Let's take a look at these problem areas here. Now, you can see my graphic overlapped this graphic a little bit, and that's okay. This is why I wanted you to do this graphic last, because you'd have this side done and this side done, and then you can take the hood and you can center it and try and avoid that overlapping. And sometimes you just can't avoid it. When you run tolerances this tight on these graphics, there's so many things that come into play. There's the body shrinkage during manufacturing. That could throw things off. There's the cut factor. Could our machinery have, taken a 1/16 of a slice off this too much? Those things happen. And so now I'm going to show you how to make your final adjustments in lieu of those variances. So what we're going to do is what I'm going to do, and maybe you don't want to do anything. If you think that looks fine, then you can leave it like that. Some guys like a tight gap just like this right here. Some guys don't. Some guys like to have their body lines, nice and even. If you look at a regular car or truck that we drive, the door jambs are perfectly even. There's those lines, and as long as they stay even, it looks good. And I'm sure those automotive geniuses spend a lot of time getting door panels to be perfect. Here's what we're gonna do. I can see my line right here from this piece. So I'm just gonna take my knife up here, and the graphic has now cooled, okay? Don't try to do this when the graphic is warm. I'm gonna keep my knife shallow angled, meaning not like this. This is high angle, shallow angle. That helps the knife stay on track. If you go high, it can wiggle around on you. Shallow angle, nice, smooth, and I'm using my pinky knuckle here to follow the body lines. Okay, now we're gonna see if we cut all the way through. We did. Now I have a nice clean body line here, and I'm gonna work on heating it up and getting these little ripples out that are left. Okay? I'm gonna do like a push and rock motion with my thumb here. That looks great. I have a little bit of a heavier gap right here. So here's a little trick. You can heat that up while it's still fresh, and you can just sort of push. And you can see I just closed that gap right there. And now I've got a nice clean 16th inch gap all the way down, which is what we want. Okay, so let's install this piece right here. Now some people may not want to install this piece. They may like that black, sort of looks like a vent right there. It's nice and thin, and I'm actually gonna dry apply this because it's so tiny. I'm just gonna line the artwork up, then use my thumb and go around just like that. Perfection. I got a little bit low here on this piece, so I'm actually gonna take my knife, pull it back up a little bit, and just get it realigned. Just like that. Let me get this in the camera for you, and you can see that worked out really nice right there, okay? There's also a piece that needs to go here. It's a little bit bigger, and I think I'm gonna be more comfortable with a wet apply. As soon as I get this sort of in place, I'm gonna tip it up so you can see it in the camera. Okay, there it is. I'm just gonna go across, just like that. That looks good. I'm gonna take my rag and just get rid of the extra water. And then I'm gonna take my heat gun, and any of that residual dampness is gonna evaporate out. And I'm just gonna take my straight edge like this and just go right along it and make a nice clean contact with no air bubbles, okay? So here's that. We're getting there now. The next piece we need to do, according to the instructions, is right here. So I'm gonna wet this down, and I'm gonna get that piece I need. Okay, let's get this back piece installed right here. I've already wiped it down, so I'm just gonna spray it down like we do all the other parts. I'm gonna pluck it off of my sheet here using my X-Acto knife. And I've gone over this in some other videos. This piece has some small holes in it here. Instead of trying to pluck them out while it's sticky, spray it down first, then pluck them out. If you don't spray it down first and you try to pluck them out, your fingerprints are gonna get all over the adhesive, and it'll leave enough of a smudge that it could possibly show up in the finished product, okay? Flop it on there, stand up again, and I'm gonna start by, get this centered here for you guys in the camera. I'm gonna start by getting the holes lined up the best I can, because that's a good starting point on any of these projects. And then I'm just gonna do this sort of mock feel for where I am here. That looks pretty good. It's a little bit too cool already because of the application fluid. So I need to heat it up. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna fix down this part first, and then do these wings and then work my way in. Okay? So let's get the water out here. There it goes, you can see it coming out there. Okay. Got a little bit of a dip in the body line here that we're working with. Now I'm gonna work my way around. And this dip in the body line here is tricky because you need to make sure you get the water out of that channel, okay? So I've moved it to the side, and now I'm gonna let gravity do the rest and push it this way. I apologize, this is a tough position for me to work in when I'm looking down on these things. Doing my best here though. Hopefully that's being picked up by the wide angle camera. I'm just gonna use my finger and just sort of look for this body line here. I'm gonna add a little heat. Okay, that looks good. So I got this body line done. I'm gonna work my way across over here and just pull the water over and down. And that water should just go like that and away. And it appears as though that's exactly what it did. I do have a bubble here, and I'm trying to find the best way for it to get out. I think what I'm going to have to do is pop this one. So I'm just going to take my sharp X-Acto knife, just wiggle a little hole in there, and out it comes. It's gone. There's another one right here, same thing. I'm going to use the flat edge of this to sort of get that out of there. And that one's gone as well. Don't see any others at the moment, but if there are, I'll stay within that 15-minute window and do my level best to get that out of there. Heat this up and just work this like that and down. Okay, this is all done. Okay, got a little bit of an issue here. Looks better. Just taking a look down the body lines to see if I see any bubbles, and I don't. I've pretty much done this half. We'll let this flap here until the end. Let's move over to this side. I'm just gonna pull this up a little bit and just re-wet it. I'm gonna re-warm this. You can probably see the vinyl just sort of folding down because of the heat. And I've got this little depression here in the body line. So I'm going to work the water down, let gravity take it away. When I say let gravity take it away, I mean pick the body up and rotate it so that where you're pushing, the water is going, down. And again, same thing. Move the body so that we let gravity take this water out and away. That looks pretty good. I see a bubble there I gotta get out. I need to add a little heat and soften this. And if you find that your finger isn't sliding easily, that's when you just grab your cloth, and that'll reduce the friction and allow you to get into that groove a little bit better. Okay, that looks pretty good. Don't see any real big issues there. I'm gonna go ahead and get this down while I still have some time. Pushing down, and the water's running down this groove and out for me. Probably gonna need some heat back here. Got a little bubble here that I'm gonna end up just popping. Go. Okay, and the next piece I think we're gonna do is right here. Looks like we've got most of this pretty well tackled. I don't know if my eyes are just playing tricks on me or if I actually see a bubble there. A couple little ripples. These ripples that show up, they're just where there's been a lot of stress put on the vinyl to go around a curve, or there's some memory stuck in there. Those things aren't a big deal, and all you got to do is come back and hit them up at a later time. As long as you keep it clean. If you were to get some dirt up underneath there, you'd be in trouble. It may not stay down. Okay, let's get this little tiny piece here. Let's see what we got here. That little piece is right here on my sheet. The sheet wants to slide off the table on me. And this is going to go here. Nice little keystone piece here. It makes it look kind of cool. Okay. Start in the middle, go to the right, start in the middle, go to the left, okay? And then we're left with this flapper back here. Use the thumb test. Still wet, because my thumb's not sticking. Now it's starting to stick, because the water's evaporating. That's it. It's evaporated and dry. So all I gotta do, and turn this around, is just rock it down at this point, like that. And there's some residual water there that's being pushed out, so you can see it wants to flap back up. You take your rag, get that water out of there. Some more just pushed out, I can see. It's a process. I can feel it cooling off now, so what I'm gonna do is put the heat back on, and it'll evaporate any of that really thin water that's left there. And this final push should be the last one. I don't see any air bubbles in that, and that's always a plus. Looks good, looks good. Okay, I've got two small pieces to put right here. And I am going to dry apply these. Looks like I have the driver's side here. Let me just look over top. That's gonna go just like that. And we'll grab this piece here. And that is gonna go just like that. Nice little finisher there. Okay. According to my instructions, the final two pieces are in purple, and you can see them here. Let's do the front. We're gonna spray it down. Okay. I'm gonna grab the piece I need. And again, the reason the instructions say to do this piece last, I got a little hair there somehow. Need to get off. There we go. Is because we're probably gonna end up having to trim the left or the right or both sides of this piece. You can see, boy, looks like I'm gonna get lucky here again. That worked out fantastic. If you have overhang on either one of these sides, you will follow the same process I did here and just let it cool off, make sure it's down and dry, and then just trim it. Keep a shallow angle on the blade. I'm going to support the back with my hand. I'm going to do the middle first, like that. So the middle's down. And now I'm just going to work my way across, supporting it with the back of my hand. Whenever you can, use the squeegee. It does a better job of getting the air out evenly. When it's not possible, use your thumb or the rag. Okay? Look at that. That's nice. That's really nice. Okay? And now we're going to do the back. Again, the back is saved for last because it's another piece that we may need to trim. I'm going to do the back lower piece. The back is in 2 pieces on the XO-1. See if I can reach over here. Okay. Nice little gap there. That looks even. And you can see my gap over here is a little bit stronger. So I'm going to pull it up. I'm going to re-wet it down. And now knowing that I have a tighter gap on my right side than my left, I'm going to give it a little bit of a cheat to the left to try and balance it out. Okay? And you can see I'm a little bit wider here and narrower here. So I think what I'm going to do is fix the middle down. Just like this. I'm going to use my hand for support and just get the middle down like that. Okay? Now I'm going to pull this back up, wet it down a little bit, and I'm going to give it a little bit of a stretch after I add some heat. And that stretch should help me tighten up this gap. And guys, I'm sorry that I got to look over top the work here. This is a tough. There we go. Now I'm cooling off, so I need to add some more heat. Awesome. And I'm just going to push and sort of smudge my way across there. Look how I made up for that. That gap was back there. And now I'm within a 1/16. That looks pretty good. Let's switch sides. Give it a quick little pull back here. If you find that your liquid is if you find that your liquid is allowing this to stick within a couple of minutes when you pull back, empty out your bottle and remove some of the alcohol, or just don't use alcohol at all. The alcohol helps it evaporate more quickly. If you use just straight soapy water, you'll have a lot more of a work time. For me personally, I like less of a work time because I can get it to contact a lot faster instead of sitting here and rubbing on that, you know, for a while. Now, someone who's just starting out, you're gonna probably maybe not wanna use so much alcohol. Now, I heated that up and I just worked it with my thumb and I got a 1/16 out of it. Look how tight that is right there. That looks pretty good. Okay. This piece is next. It's gonna pull it off my sheet. It's hanging off the edge of my thumb there. Just soap it up. This piece is unique because it's designed to sort of come together like that. See how it's apart? And it'll come together like that. So I'm gonna line up the artwork, just like that. This is a tricky one. Again, I'm gonna adhere the middle down first. Okay, right here. That's a little bit of like a clamshell shape right there. So I'm gonna use my finger to get that down. And once that's down, I'm gonna pull this up and make sure I add some more water to give me as much time as I need. And I'm sort of gonna do a heat and pull, okay? You can see my gap right there is really big. So I'm gonna do a heat and pull. Warm it up. Heat it and sort of pull it like that, okay? To add some more heat. Okay, And I'm gonna pull this across there. I'm gonna worry about that little piece in a little bit. For now, I wanna make sure I keep this nice and wet because I gotta do the same thing on this side. Gonna heat and pull. So I've warmed it up. And now I'm gonna give it the pull. Good. And you gotta keep it warm so it doesn't cool and contract back before you push it down. Just take your finger, go across, just like that. Okay, it looks good on that side. This should be able to pull back up for me. I'm gonna wet it again. Got a little bit of a gap between there. I'm gonna do another heat and pull to make those two up. Heat and pull. Just like that. Just like that. Okay. Add some heat. I'm gonna do a little smudge right there to sort of tighten up that gap. That looks pretty good. Okay. I need to get my X-Acto knife here. I don't know if I had pushed that down. Oh, that's still pretty good. I'm gonna do another heat and pull on this side to try and close this gap. And it looks like I got it. Yep, I even got a little overlap there, which we'll trim out. We had to do very little trimming on this kit. I was actually hoping we'd have more trimming to do so that I could show the different techniques, but that's just the way it goes sometimes. Add a little heat here and just try and cheat this thing up. Grab the chair. Hopefully the camera's getting this. Let's try and cheat this up a little bit here. Have a little bit of a gap here, so I think what I'm going to do after the fact is just come back and actually even this up right here. In fact, I can just do that now. Put my hand under here to support it. There we go. And I can pluck that piece out. There we go. You may have to take a little rubbing alcohol and just get rid of the residue there if there is any. I can see I've got a little. And I'm gonna heat this up a little bit here and just try and tighten up that gap there a little bit. There we go. Looks pretty good. Looks like we have one more piece left here on the license plate area. I'm gonna pull that off. I'm gonna wet it down. Gonna slide that into place here, just like so. Awesome. And I've got this little overlap here that I need to take care of, and that should do it. Just gonna do like a rock there a little bit, get started. And then I'm gonna use my X-Acto to sort of help it get out of there. Take my heat gun. And just sort of finish this off. License plate. Looks good. Looks good. Okay. And here we have the XO-1 in its complete form. Move my stuff here. Looks really good. I've got two more pieces left, and those two pieces are what appears to be some bottom rocker panels. Yep, right here, okay? So I'm gonna spray it down, and then I'm gonna spray that down. Get this thing oriented here so you guys can see it. And this is an easy piece that'll go in there and just tuck in. I think part of the chassis on the XO-1 will cover this, but it's still nice to have it in there, I think. Okay. I'm just gonna use my thumb and get any residual water out of there, just like that. There we go. Let's do the other side. Pluck it off my sheet here. Give it a little spray. That's a nice little finishing touch to that lower rocker, I think. Look how nice and clean these lines are here, these gaps. That's the key. You know, there's people that say to me, well, why don't you just cover the whole thing with a thin car wrap? Yeah, I can see that. Here's the problem with that. And it's sort of the same problem you're gonna have with hydro dips. I see a lot of people doing hydro dips. Here's the thing. Like a hydro dip, car wrap loses its shape as you install it. So you have this big sheet, right? And you go and you conform it on there and you press it in and it looks all pretty. And you can do that if the design allows it. But if you have something like this where you have an anatomical figure, like a skull, a hydro dip or a car wrap is going to distort that. And it's going to look like garbage. If you look at these hydro dip bodies, take notice to the designs. They're repetitive designs. Like there's little skulls and they repeat all over the place. Well, it's like that for a reason, because when you do a hydro dip, those things get into these grooves, and it's great that it does, but the drawback is you can't have an anatomical figure placed perfectly centered on a hood. I'm sure that if there's somebody out there with enough money and enough time and they want to go through enough bodies, you know, dipping that body in that hydro dip, trying to get that hood, perfect with the skull, and the rest could just fall into place. Yeah, I guess it's possible, but you will not find a hydro dip, in my opinion, I don't think, with detail like this. I think hydro dips are great for small parts. I mean, you're talking like gears, rods, screws, things like that. You can't put a wrap on something like that. But on something like this, where you want to show off some artwork, whether we have a Joker here or a guy holding two guns, you have to go with a situation like this where you have it pieced up and a graphic artist has engineered the pieces so that it fits together as good as possible. This body will actually be for sale on eBay. If you're watching this video and you want to buy this body, you're more than welcome to. I will put a link to these graphic kits below, a link to the website below so you can take a look around. If you're watching this video and you write me and say, hey, I want to buy that body, there's probably a good chance this body is no longer available because I'm only going to do this one. I don't have time to wrap bodies. I just do them for instructional purposes. So don't be discouraged. You can always buy yourself your own graphic kit. Just follow this video, take your time, and you're going to have results just like this. I mean, this is a beautiful Traxxas XO-1 done in an American flag ripper theme by Darkside Studios. It's got a metallic flake sparkle, I guess you could call it a candy apple finish on it, okay? And it just works. So here it is. All the links are below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.